G'day guys. The old TD9 has been sitting out in the weather for a number of years. Hasn't had any maintenance in that time. So today I'm going to change all the fluids and filters, check all the rollers are moving, and check all the nuts and bolts are tight, and then I can put it back to work. So I'll start off changing the oil in this winch. It's been sitting for a long time, so it could possibly have some water in the oil. So I don't know what the seals are like, so I'll pop that drain plug and see what we've got. Oh, there's a bit of water in there. Right, that's pretty much drained out. You can see it is a little bit milky, so there is some moisture in there. So it's good to get that changed. Might be a seal in there that's not quite 100%. So this is the level plug. I'll take that out. Okay, that's at the right level now. So we'll tighten that up. Right, so that's the oil changed in the winch. That should be good for a few years. So I used SA90 gearbox oil. It's quite a thick oil, so it's really slow to go in there. I think this rear gearbox is lubricated from here through a small hole, so it might take a while for that to come up to the right level. So I'll just check the level again in a few hours and yeah, top it up if I need to. I've painted oil on the wire rope and just let it soak in there, so that should stop any rust from forming. And when I'm not using it, I'll just keep a cover over it so that no water gets in there, and it should last forever like that. We'll move on to these rollers now. I'm pretty sure they take a thick oil. I'll take those plugs out. They're all different plugs. That one's got a square protruding head, and that one's got an internal square socket. And also these rollers down the bottom, they've got a square head, but some of them are quite rusty, so I don't know how I'll get on getting those out. This one is quite badly rusted for some reason. I might end up having to drill that plug out of there because it looks like it's possibly been stripped. It's quite rusty. We'll see how we go. Oh, that one looks like it's around the wrong way. I have to get that one from underneath, I think. If I can hold it still. And lock it in there. Yeah, that's feeling pretty smooth. Fill it up as much as I can. Alright. Yep, that's nice. got it. Whew, that was tight. It hasn't been off for a few years. Yeah, no oil on that one. Yeah, that's good. The 1/4 inch square driver is just slightly too big, so that's not going to work. I don't really want to sacrifice that, but I'm going to have to cut something down to get in there. I think I could do without this. I'll grind down that end so that it fits in there. Oh yes. Oh, nothing in there either. Now the fun part, doing these bottom rollers, they're going to be even worse. Some of them are quite rusty, so I don't know how we'll get on with these. So I'll just let that drain out and then put some new oil in there. That's 1 down, 9 to go. Right, this plug seems to be smaller than all the rest, so I've made another tool here. Just ground a square end on a bolt, and we'll see if that does it. That's got it pretty tight. Yeah. Damn it, shit myself. Oh well, that's holding oil. That doesn't look too bad in there. Actually, that does spin nice and freely, so that's good. All the rollers seem okay, which is quite surprising, really. Right, that's all the rollers oiled. I'm noticing there is some coolant coming down from somewhere, and I have noticed the level in the radiator getting lower, so it's leaking from somewhere. I have to try and find out where. So I think I'll take the side off, and so I can have a poke around in there. Right, looks like it might be leaking out of that one. Some of those hose clamps are a bit loose, so I'll tighten those up. Right, I'll change the oil in those final drives as well. The 1/2 inch drive is too loose in there, so I'll have to make a tool to go in there. It's just not quite going to do it. So I'll just grind a square end on this bolt. Ooh, that was tight. I got it. Let's see where the level is up to before I dump the oil. Oh, it does have oil. It looks quite clean as well. Why is it overfill though is what I want to know. Oh, possibly because the dozer is on a slight angle facing backwards because I've got it on blocks up the front there. And so it's showing overfill. But yeah, it is quite dark at the bottom there. Okay, good to get that out then. Right, I've got a couple of magnets on a piece of wire. The wire's bent over so the magnets can't come off. So I'll just have a little poke around and see if there's any bits of metal that should pick up any broken teeth or bearing pieces. So hopefully there's nothing too major. I'm expecting to see quite a bit of iron filings, but hopefully no broken teeth. Oh, that doesn't look too bad actually. There's very little fragments in there, so that's good to see for such a high hour machine. Make sure if you do this that your magnets are pretty well secured on the wire, because if they come off in there, you've got to take it apart to get them out. So that's looking good. I'll have a fish around in the oil and see what comes up. Now that's looking pretty good. There's not too much in there. So I'm just using an 85 140 gearbox oil. It's quite thick. Not so bad. Yeah, slightly overfilled because it's leaning backwards. It's coming out of the bung, but that oil looks pretty good as well. That's good to see. Tight plug like that, I find it helps just to give it a little tap as you're turning, and it just sort of breaks the seal. Make sure that the drive stays in the socket, especially when the sockets are slightly damaged like that one. You're less likely to strip it out. Not too hard. I mean, you don't want to crack the casing or ruin the threads, but just enough to break the seal. That oil actually looks quite clean. You see it's still a golden colour, so that's good to see. There is a little bit of metal flake in there, but it's not bad. Right, that's new oil in the final drives. They're looking in pretty good condition, so happy to see that. I'll pull that belly pan off so I can have a good look under there and flush the radiator and try and see where the radiator leak is coming from. Looks like there's quite a few bolts holding that on, and it is quite heavy, so I think I'll wrap a strop around it so it doesn't drop down too quickly. And, under the belly pan, and over to the other side. Okay, so this is the hydraulic pump and reservoir. Yeah, I probably should change that as well. Right, it looks like that coolant leak is coming from the oil cooler tap. There's just a bit of a drip there, so that's not too much to worry about. Okay, we'll drain that radiator. I did put some coolant in it when I first started it, so yeah, it's not looking too bad. It's actually quite clean. I'll do that oil filter as well. Alright, that's the new filter in. We'll fill it up with oil. So I'll just use SA30 for the engine. I've been looking at the forums and that's what they recommend for these old ones. I think the multi-grade oils can be too thin for them apparently, so we'll just use SA30. There you go. Alright, that's pretty much full now. So we'll give it a run and check it again. Now I'll drain this hydraulic oil and put some fresh oil in there. Yep. Yeah, that oil was pretty dark. That was long overdue for an oil change. I don't think these have a filter. They do have quite a fine strainer here. Maybe that's the only filter they have. Can't see any other filters in there. Oh, did not drop that in there. That oil's looking pretty chunky actually. There's some metal filings in there as well, so it's not ideal, but I suppose you've got to expect a bit of that for a 60-year-old machine. Yeah. Well, let's not look too hard at that. Where were we? When you bring the ram up, it puts more oil into the tank, so I've got to keep it below that line. I think that's pretty good there actually. Good to get new oil in there. That oil was filthy. She's all back together now. I'll give her a bit of a run and see how it goes. I'll do that gearbox oil as well. I've just ordered some oil for that, but everything else is pretty much done. So I'll give it a bit of a test run and check for any leaks. And the next big job is to cut down this safety canopy I got for scrap value a while ago. So it's the wrong size. I think it's off a bigger dozer, D9 or something. It's actually too narrow and too long, so I'm going to have to basically cut it all apart and rebuild it from scratch. So it's got the mesh in the back there, so it'll be a bit safer for winching things. So that's the next job, cut that up and build a safety frame, and then I can get into some winching with it. But I'll give it a bit of a test run for now and check for any leaks. I've got an old car that broke down years ago, which has been sitting around, and yeah, it's just a bit of an eyesore, so I'm going to try and crush that and take it in for scrap metal. So we'll see what she does. Well, that's what a 7-ton bulldozer does to a car. Got it pretty flat. So I'll take that in to be recycled now. I've drained all the fluids out, so it's all good to go. Catch you later, guys. See you next time.